James Winn. I've always been from around Illinois and central Illinois, Peoria area. Grew up in Metamora, and I went to an art academy in '67 when I was 17, and then when I was older we were living in Finland, and I thought I got to go back to school and do something with it. And when we came back, there was a faculty exhibit at ISU, and Harold Gregor's work really stood out to me, and I thought I want to study with this guy. And I wrote all my notes in Finnish just in case somebody found them, because I wasn't complimentary about everybody. I thought that, it's an obscure language, and I knew they would never, you just have to be careful when you write something down. But and so I started when, what was I, 28 then, in '68, and I went until 70 or 82. I got a BS, MS, and an MFA, always working with Harold. And he was I thought, a very demanding professor, and people are shocked when they said, well, I'm a little afraid of him, And Tori Folliard, she dealt with Harold's work, and she was just shocked that Harold might be demanding and stern even, and because outside, when you just know him as a person, he's a wonderful, warm, just a great guy. But boy, in the classroom, he had standards. I remember one time he was looking at my work, and I had a painting, and he liked it. He couldn't find too much to say about it. So the first thing he did is he flipped it around and said, okay, if you take this to a gallery, this has to look professional, and everything has to be done perfectly. And so that was one of the things he stressed, that front, back, it had to look like a pro job. And those were the kind of standards that if you were serious about being a painter and trying to make it in the real art world, you really should know those things. Yeah, well, he was doing it, and he was very successful already, and so he did know what it took. And I remember him, I wanted to go try to get in the galleries real early, because you go and you think, I'm better than that guy, I'm as good as that one. But he said, no. He said, you only get to be new once. And so wait till you're really ready. And I just thought that was, of course I didn't want to, but I knew to listen to him. I had a lot of German heritage, and so when they say march, you march. And so respect for authority, I think I've got too much of it. But so Harold was easy to, because he saw he was the real deal, and when he said to do something, I did what he said. I went to an academy, so they taught me how to paint, and the technique and all that kind of stuff, but they didn't have no reason to paint, or no ideas about it. And so he really constantly challenged what they were about, why were you doing it, and just, size, surface, all the formal aspects. And he had me read Arnheim, and boy, that changed so much for me. I really follow, Power of the Center, all those books, art, visual perception. But then he also sent me, he insisted I go out to Washington, D.C. in 1980 to see the American Luminous show, because he saw that I had a natural kinship to that sort of spiritual sort of thing about the landscape. And where some of the other professors, they just kind of dismissed it as, you just don't know what you're doing, why are you doing that? And I remember taking a philosophy, sort of an aesthetics course, and this person, I really liked him. He was obviously a smart guy, he's a professor, and he said that the sublime is over. You cannot paint that anymore. Nobody will get that. Seeing God in nature or whatever, some sort of spiritual force. And there were about 6 of us in that seminar, and I looked around the room and said, do you see? And every single person in the room, except him, said, oh yeah, when I go out in nature, I see. And so Harold knew, he saw that that was sort of a direction that I wanted my work to be about, and he didn't put me off. He just kept challenging it and directing it, look at Frederick Church and look at this one and that one, and so he was always nudging, and mostly it was about how to think, not how to paint, but he would get on that too. There were some of the guys that were really good painters in grad school, and they wanted to be the latest thing, and I just wanted to, be a good painter. And one of the things, I took a lot of art history, almost all of Harold's classes, and then lots more. I can't write, so I couldn't be an art historian. But you read all that stuff, and if you're not informed, you're just kind of wandering. But I just wanted to paint landscapes, and they still meant something to me. And like you said, there's a place, and I've never felt like you're going to get much critical attention or anything current. I got a chance to spend some time with Richard Estes, and he will go down as being one of the great painters of our time. Not now, though. His paintings are not worth near as much as more. I don't think he's ever gotten $1 million for one of his paintings, and so many people do. And but one day and so it's just seeing people like that were encouragement, that you can tell that they're great painters, and you go to a lot of museums and people I've never heard of. I think, boy, I wish I could paint like that person. And just because you're not, it's sort of a winner-take-all world, the art world. And unless you're Gauguin or Cezanne or somebody like that, you just, but you can still be a great painter. And, it blesses you, maybe not, And my wife was an RN. So we always made ends meet. Yeah. They used to, a good gallery might have just a handful, maybe 20, 30 people in their stable at the most. And now their galleries that you see, they probably got 100 people they represent. And it's I did not let my sons, I had 2 sons, one was a good musician, one was a really good painter. And I just said, no, you cannot do this. Get a real job, and you can go on. And one still plays music all the time, and the other one, well, he doesn't have as much time now. But he was doing sculpture, and he's very artistic. He played music too, but I'm glad they didn't do it. It's just too hard. And I tried to get teaching positions, but being a realist painter and my work being very they just get dismissed as snapshot. And really their compositions with so many different photographs and things work together. And so when they meant it in the worst possible sense of the term, snapshot. But I always found it as sort of complimentary in a backhanded way, because they were meant, if they're realistic, they should look, just all that et cetera detail, that they just look real. But boy, their compositions with things mixed up and switched around. I got to rent a truck to get this thing to the gallery up in Milwaukee. There's this show opening soon. And I'm getting old, so I'm too weak. I got to get somebody to help me carry it because it's kind of big and heavy. But it took me months to do this painting. It's 4 feet by 7.5 feet. And you just spend, there are areas that you want people to focus on because it's the highest contrast and, the most color and everything. And you play down all those other areas. But if it's realism, you've got to lavish weeks, literally weeks of time on stuff that nobody's ever going to notice. It's just sort of supporting. And but it has to be done. But mostly it was Harold and all his art history that was really, I felt, really important. All that sort of theory, and I love the art historians. I can't remember all their names, but one of the things, Harold was always talking about color theory and size. And I remember him saying to somebody, and you listen carefully when he talks, no matter who it's to, that, a person said, well, I saw a reproduction of the work. And just like you pointed out earlier, reproduction is a totally different experience because of size and surface, and there's just a physical presence. And he would talk about, if a painting's bigger than you can, hold on to, it just announces itself differently. And I had never made a large painting, and at first class I was in with him, he said, now you have to make at least a 6-foot painting. And I still got it. My son has it hanging in his house, but so it was just it was a real stretch, and you know, but he was always pushing, and it was just a good example, I think, to never. He didn't to pat you on the back and say, you know, that's great, you know, you're done. It was always, you can do better, and I appreciate that.